Finally, summer is here. A lot of people are taking a look at vacations when they get off work, while others are just starting to get to work. We're going to take a look at both sides on this month's Uniquely Bristol. Hello everybody, I'm Mark Thomas, and Uniquely Bristol is the show that looks at Bristol's small town values and hidden gems. It's brought to you every month on Nutmeg television and brought to you by the Bristol Development Authority, the BDA. As you can see, ball fields all in our area are starting to get ready for baseball. The Bristol Blues have started their season this month, and we're going to take a look and talk to General Manager Brian Rooney. A lot of students right now, all they can think about though is that summer vacation. But what about principals? We're lucky enough in Bristol that we have two outstanding principals, not only in our area, but also the nation. Bristol is commonly known around the state of Connecticut as having one of the best educational systems. If you need proof, think about this. He's called the heartbeat of Bristol Central High School. Pete Winninger, who likes to go by Pete, won the National Principal of the Year award last year. But you'd only hear that from others, not him. So Pete, the last time we were here, it was such an honor for you to be named National Principal of the Year. This year must have had some highs and lows. Tell us a little bit about what 2017 and 2018 were for you in Central.
Well, certainly 2017-18 doesn't recognize the fact that that happened last year. Life goes on and you keep moving forward. So every school year is filled with highs and lows, some more than others. You can always expect that the beginning of the school year is going to be pretty exciting with kids getting ready to come back and seeing all their friends and seeing their teachers. And of course we have a really cool program where we mentor our freshman students with seniors. We call them Rambassadors. And it's always nice to see them formulate those relationships initially in the first few months. It's a pretty exciting time for everyone, and then as the school year gets started, we have a number of activities throughout the year that continues to promote our community feel here and our family atmosphere. And Thanksgiving we do a family dinner prior to the break, and before the winter break we do a pretty cool thing called Festivus. I'm sure most people have heard about it. And it really is a week's worth of events leading up to the Festivus celebration. And that really rolls us into the winter doldrums, unfortunately. And the winter is usually a long period of time. It's broken up by the mid-year exams, and then we have the winter weekend in February. But this winter in particular was extremely long. Spring didn't want to arrive, and I think there were a few national events that kind of raised the anxiety level of kids, speaking specifically of Parkland, Florida. Certainly when an event like that takes place, it reverberates through our staff and students, and it certainly raises their concerns about how we do things, and we just try to reassure them that we are our own best defense. We got to take care of one another and continue to promote that family atmosphere so that everybody gets along.
I think your mentoring program is amazing because you got over 1,100 students here. If I was coming from a middle school, I would be probably scared to death. So that's really, how do you select those seniors, and how does that program kind of work? Because I think that's terrific.
So we've had a couple of teachers who have dedicated themselves to making that program what it is. And they go through a pretty intense training in the summer underneath that teacher, Mrs. McCabe. And it really opens their eyes up as to how you can best work with a young person to acclimate them to the high school. And certainly they've had their own experiences in high school that they can share. But there is an application process, there's an interview process, and again, with that training, we prepare them to work with kids throughout the school year during their advisory period to not just provide them with some answers, but to really to develop a relationship with them and help pass on what our expectations are for freshmen coming into this building, both academically, socially, and behaviorally. And it's been pretty successful for us here.
Every year, new students, probably some new teachers. What were your kind of goals and expectations coming into this year?
So this year was unique in the fact that we lost 5 teachers to budget cuts over the calendar year. So coming into the same building with the same number of students and trying to manage that group with larger class sizes, with fewer teachers to man study halls and duties, our concern was really, can we still manage the same crowd with a lower number of people within our existing schedule? And that's been a challenge for us, and it's caused people to have to work differently in some situations to make sure that students are getting what they need when they need it.
Let's go back to the award.
Sure.
It was such an outstanding award for not only you, Central, and Bristol, because there are so many fantastic educators across the country. Why do you think you won?
Well, when I was in Florida and at the award ceremony, I met some incredible people.
Yeah.
And there were more awards than just the principal award. There was awards for teachers and coaches, and it was really inspiring. And at any given time, one of those people could have been an
Sure.
award winner for sure. And they each brought something really unique to their own school community. When I think about receiving that honor, I truly believe it's a reflection of the people in this building. You can't operate a school of this size without having a group of people who are all on board with the same expectations and working on the same mission. And for me, when I think about that in this school community, you're not going to find a more caring and compassionate group of people who are really here to make sure that kids have the best experience they can. And that, again, is our focus. You know, we want to make sure that kids in these hallways feel cared for, and they feel like if they had an issue, they could go to anybody, whether it be a secretary, custodian, paraprofessional, teacher, administrator. At any given time, you can walk these hallways, and you'll see that interaction between student and adult, and it's unique, and it's special, and certainly that's what drives us here.
Kind of an exciting time because the seniors are ready to move on. The juniors can't wait to be seniors. But your job really is kind of 12 months, isn't it? So what does and I shouldn't say this because I know a little bit because my father was a principal, but what do you do during the summer, to get ready and what's your life like during the summer?
So the summer isn't here yet. Obviously, we need to survive the last few weeks of school.
Right.
We got to get through our proms, our awards night, and certainly graduation, which is the culmination of everything that we do here. And it truly is a special event. After that, you pick yourself up off the carpet.
Take a breather.
Take a breather for a couple days, and then the real work begins on the technical things. And most of that is the office work, which isn't my favorite thing to do in the summer,
Sure.
Or any day for that matter. But I prefer interacting with kids. That work is grounded in our professional development for teachers, working on improving our school accountability index, which is our rating by the state of Connecticut, and targeting those individual things that make us better. And within those things, there's curriculum work to do, there's planning work to do, there's goals to set. It's the things that you don't get the time to do during the regular school year because you're working, the whole time with students and teachers. It's time for the administration to sit down and really set up a specific plan for success for the following year.
You've been here several years. What do you think the biggest change was in your first year to where you are now?
The biggest change in my first year from where I am now, besides the amount of gray hair that I have.
But you still have it. That's the good thing.
Yes, I do still have it. I don't know that there's been one significant change. I think there's been a gradual change in the type of student that we have at Bristol Central and the type of student we need to serve now. Certainly the level of poverty in the city has grown a little bit, so we're seeing students with different needs. I think with the changing demographic in the town, we certainly have a different set of needs within the school that go beyond classroom. We have needs for mental health services. We have needs for medical services, dental services, things like that could really help our students through their high school experience. We could really use those things. And again, the city itself has undergone quite a change over the past few years. So those needs are now appearing, and the more that we can provide kids with those services, I think the better off they're going to be and more successful we'll be here at the high school.
Across town, a new principal was just starting her tenure as high school principal. Marisa Calvi-Rogers left Central and took over the leadership at Bristol Eastern High School. Marisa, is this you can exhale because you've gone through 1 year, or did it just go by too fast since this is your first year at Eastern?
It went by in a blink. It really did. It went by very quickly.
What did you expect coming in? I mean, did you have any expectations or goals?
I always had goals. Expectations, I think coming in now, I was at Bristol Central for 4 years, so I was familiar with the district. I was familiar with really the vision of our Office of Teaching and Learning and all of that. But, it was a different high school. Central and Eastern are two very different high schools. So coming in, it was really, what's this high school all about? Because you have to be out there. You have to be visible. Like I have an open door policy. My door is always open. I have kids and staff who walk in all the time that have questions, comments, ideas. So being available, being out in the cafeteria when I can, being in the halls and the classrooms when I can, being at events as much as I can. And I think the more accessible you are, the more people are willing to have a conversation. And then when people have a conversation, it's how can I support what they're trying to accomplish? And for me, really my biggest vision coming in here, and I introduced that concept at our very first faculty meeting together, is understanding the individual story. We all have our own stories, all of us. And if we understand that about each other, it makes a big difference about how we treat each other. And even for our students, not all students learn the same way.
Right.
And every student comes in with a story. And understanding, what makes that kid tick. Meeting their needs. That's the most important thing. That to me is the secret. The secret to success in education is if we take the time to understand each person's story and then work with that information.
I grew up in a teaching family. My father was my elementary school principal and then went on to be superintendent of schools. It's very common for a teacher to teach and then go into the commercial world. You kind of did it the other way around. How has being in the commercial world helped you in now being a teacher and an administrator?
Well, so I spent about 15 years in the business world, and I climbed the corporate ladder, and I was an executive in that field. So I have quite a bit of management experience. So how a business should run, how to manage a budget, how to motivate. All of those things were things that was a lot of my life. And coming into this job, I think that helped quite a bit because management is still management. Whether you're in a school, whether you're in the private sector, you're working with people and you have to understand, how to get things done.
Any job you come into, you kind of have an expectation and you think it's going to go that way. What is something that's happened this year that's kind of been unexpected for you?
There wasn't too much that I didn't expect. I think, one thing I always struggle with is, the kids and their attendance sometimes, like, just come to school on time. My joke to the kids is if this were a job, I'd have to fire you. So I can't say I didn't expect it, but I'd like to see a much better improvement on that. Like, I want the kids to want to be here on time. So that's something that, but that's not something, that happens all over the place. It's not something so unique here. I think on a positive is just seeing how much teachers do with very little resources. That's, you see that and you're just wowed by that all the time. And just the sheer commitment. There are a lot of teachers who put in so many hours. They're not paid for that. They just believe in the kids and their, and the causes to support or the community outreach. And to just see that sheer dedication. But again, that doesn't surprise me, but it's so nice to see.
Right. I think there's a lot of things that people have preconceived knowledge about kids that are in high school, and they don't get credit for all the good stuff. What are some of the things that you see that maybe amaze you or people should know about these kids?
Well, first of all, the kids are awesome. And I think a lot of times when I tell someone, I work in Bristol, there's a preconceived notion. What does that mean?
Right.
And our demographics in the town have definitely changed. We're much more diverse, but I see that diversity as a positive so that the kids, when they leave Bristol and they go on to the next phases of their life, they have had the experience of understanding different people, different cultures. And I think that sometimes people who don't know education or have been in a high school setting, there's an assumption about those tough kids, And that may be like this tiny little percent. But the bulk of the kids here are incredibly talented. If you look at just the arts program, the music programs, they're award winning. This past weekend it was all shook up and it was fantastic. Just the sheer talent of the kids. We have different programs where like our Friends of Rachel group and all the money they raise for Relay, or our BE and Beyond, where the kids go out into the community to give back, or they work with the elementary school or middle school kids and different things. These are great kids that are so committed to making their community a better place, making their school a better place, and they're not just trying to build a resume. It's because they're passionate about things. And of course, you have the staff is there willing to give the kids that opportunity. Group of kids was just in DC having a great experience. That, you know, teachers are willing to bring them to all these different places. So what people have to know is that the future is bright. Our kids are great. And for some of the kids that struggle a bit, it's just because their story is a little bit more complex. And we still have to work a little harder to make that connection for them.
So we're almost out of school, but it doesn't really stop for you. What will your tasks be getting ready for next year over the summer?
A lot of it is to really recharge, but then the summer is really where we take the time to look back and reflect on the year, see what things went well, see what things we need to look at procedurally. Safety, of course, is always number one. We look at our handbooks that we give, kind of our rules of engagement with our kids and our staff, and what are things there that need to be looked at. We plan for professional development that's meaningful, that helps teachers be better equipped to understand the individual stories. And it's also kind of a time to connect with other colleagues within the district too, and have an opportunity to talk about, brainstorm different ideas. So you get to do it at a slower pace, but you get to do all of that work that helps you prepare for the next school year. So we hit the ground running again.
For more information on Bristol's education system, go to www.bristol.k12.ct.us/Board of Ed.
Welcome to Bristol, nestled in the heart of Connecticut, just 2 hours from Boston, New York, and an hour from the shoreline. Bristol offers a unique New England experience.
City-sized with small-town vibe, you'll fit in no matter your pace.
As a community, we're rich with history, overflowing with passion, and ripe with experiences to enjoy. Beyond the rolling hills of Connecticut, that's where you'll find the magic of Bristol.
With an incredible 700-plus acres of park systems,
Inspiring museums and cultural programs,
and the oldest operating amusement park in North America.
Our arts and entertainment will color you convinced.
And local food and drink establishments to keep you excited, satisfied, and always savoring more.
Community events that leave a lasting memory.
We really do have it all.
plus, we're a community that honors the brave.
A community that offers top-tier sports and recreation.
And world-class accommodations to suit every style.
But what if you wanted to stay even longer?
Well, there's neighborhoods to pair with any personality.
And places for all kinds of producers.
Top-rated school systems.
Ways to make an impact.
And plenty of places to worship.
So whether you're vacationing,
Passing through,
Or staying a little longer.
bring your heart to Bristol. Our heart is always open to your experiences. Bristol, Connecticut.
All heart.
While the summer means taking it easy for educators, it's back to work for the boys of summer. It's June, and that means the Bristol Blues are back in action at legendary Muzzy Field. It's especially exciting for first-year general manager Brian Rooney. Brian, I got to tell you, I've been to Muzzy Field several times, but being down here in the dugout, when you think of some of the guys that have been here like Babe Ruth and Jim Rice, it's a really cool feeling to come out here, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It brings me back. You know, I used to play here, high school-wise, and I didn't play Bristol Legion. I played in Plainville.
Right.
But it was always exciting to play here. It's a great place to play, and a lot of the kids that I've talked to over the years that are coming back, or players that are coming in here, are excited about playing here.
So we got another kickoff for this month. Tell us a little bit about what you expect from the Blues this year.
Well, as an organization, I mean, I'd like to start off by saying, you know, I'd like to thank the mayor, Ellen Zappo, Sasu, the park department, Brian Wilson and his staff. They do a phenomenal job here. What you can expect from the Blues is hard-nosed baseball. It's kind of how I was brought up with coaches, and that's kind of how we picked a lot of the players.
Well, it's great too because they're not playing for money. They're playing because they just love the game.
Exactly, and you know it brings out a lot in me watching these kids compete like that.
So we don't know too much yet because they've only got a couple of games under their belt. But what do you expect from some of the stars, or who do you think is going to emerge this year?
Well, I think it's a little too early to tell, but I mean, going over what we've looked at, who we've picked. I mean, Alex Leparco up at Western New England. He won the batting championship up there. He batted .391. He's a great defensive player also. We just picked up a two-way player in Ryan Lutz from Seton Hall. He's a shortstop pitcher. He's phenomenal. There's a couple of the Haig brothers down by Amity area, and the Winkle kid also.
Well, you know, it says the Bristol Blues, but this really encompasses several states in New England, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the Futures League focuses on New England kids in general first. Then we go out and pick some of the other colleges from like Seton Hall in Virginia. And we have a little connection with Vanderbilt. So we've picked up a couple incoming freshmen coming to Vanderbilt.
There might not be a better entertainment value in Bristol than coming out here. Tell us a little bit about the special events that you've got and some of the ticket prices and packages.
All right, tickets are very reasonable. General admission ticket is $5. Reserve seating is $6. I mean, we have giveaways at the gate on certain nights. It's great entertainment for the family.
So you work for the city of Bristol, but you're also the GM for the Blues. This is kind of your first year. That's got to be exciting. What are some of your challenges that you've got in this first year especially?
I mean, baseball, I've been around baseball for quite a while. I mean, I've coached with Connecticut Blue Jays, 17, 18-year-olds, Team Connecticut, and I've also coached high school baseball in this town at Bristol Eastern. The challenges, the baseball part is easy. Like I said, I think I've been around it long enough and made a lot of connections. The part that's going to be the challenging part is basically going to be getting everything organized for the entertainment part. That's something that I've never had to do, but
Right.
I'm up for the challenge.
What are some of the ideas that you've got for this year that fans can look forward to throughout the summer?
Well, we're working on, on July 21st is going to be a big night, Military Appreciation Day. We're trying to work hard on we have probably about 25 to 30 vehicles here. And then we're also looking for a Black Hawk helicopter that's going to land on the field prior to the game.
Very cool, very cool. It really is a community-backed organization too, isn't it? Because I know that these players come in and they can't afford an apartment or a hotel. How do they take care of themselves?
We have host families
Right.
that are very generous. I mean, for them to open their doors for the 10-week era right there during the summer is phenomenal. The support, I mean, we can always use a little bit more. You know, there's players that get injured and they're released, and we need to have more host families. So if anybody's interested, please get a hold of the Blues office and set up an appointment.
The Blues have some rivalries. Tell us a little bit about some of the teams that come here.
Obviously, the team to beat, you always got to go after the team that won it last year, and that was Nashua. So I think we've put together, I mean, they're all great teams, but I think we've put together a good group of guys that are really going to compete and play hard.
You said that you've coached here, you've played here. I know this has got a lot of memories. Anyone in particular that you can kind of think back that Muzzy Field brings back to you?
I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, I'd be here for an hour or so, but I mean, we played a lot of big games here at Eastern High School.
It's a special experience, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the place is awesome. I can remember coming here as a kid and watching Jim Rice and Fred Lynn and Bob Stanley. Wow. And I'm a Met fan, so.
Hard to say that, isn't it?
Exactly. But we got them in '86.
So guys want to know more. They may have been new, or they're just starting to get into baseball, or maybe it's time to bring their son or daughter. What's your website, and how can they get more information?
If you go to www.bristolbluesbaseball.com, it has our schedule is up there. Actually, the first night, if I can talk about it, is we'll have a giveaway magnet night for the refrigerator.
Right.
And we have many other nights like that.
We're at BristolAllHard.com. We're very happy to be along with the Blues, and we've kind of got a special little promotion going on with a new feature. Tell us a little bit about that.
And I'm happy that you guys participated in that. I mean, I think it's going to be something fun for the kids. It's a 10 cubic foot blimp, and it has the Bristol logo on one side and the All Heart logo that you've seen around town.
Right.
But for the kid-wise, it has a little dropping mechanism underneath the blimp that will drop tickets, T-shirts, and stuff like that.
Just like the big timers.
That's it.
You're going to think you're at a major league park, I think.
Well, we're trying to make that atmosphere.
Tell us the website again.
It's www.bristolbluesbaseball.com.
And if you need to know and you're a junkie like you and I are, you can go on that social media and look for the Bristol Blues.
Yeah, we're on Facebook and Twitter. We post articles almost daily.
So do yourself a favor, drop into one of these Bristol Blues games right here at legendary Muzzy Field. You'll be glad you did. These guys still play for their own pride and for the fun of the game. You know, like it used to be. Hey, thanks for joining us this month on Uniquely Bristol. We want to know what you think. Have you got a story idea? Drop us an email at marketing@bristolct.gov. Want to know more about Bristol? Go to www.bristolallheart.com. We're also on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Until next month, we'll see you then.